Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you've had an absolutely amazing week as the sun's just moved into Leo. It's sort of a time for all of us, it doesn't matter what your star sign is, to get out there and strut your stuff and sort of explore the world and have some fun. I always get energized when the sun is in a fire sign because I'm a fire sign, but I think everybody else does a little bit too. It's like a little bit of a shot of adrenaline. We all sort of want to get up and move around and go out and do things and have some fun and excitement in our lives. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is a really positive card. It's the Ace of Pentacles. Now, the Ace of Pentacles is money coming. And we all like the sound of that. It quite often can be your divine wish being granted. Now, when we see a card like this, and the pentacles do usually relate to money in some description or another, it doesn't necessarily mean we're all going to go out and win the lotto or the lottery or have, a big bundle of gold or bag of cash stashed on the top of the car, but it means we have the opportunity to bring more money into our lives. Now, that may be through some overtime, selling some stuff on a social media site. It could just be working a little bit harder or working on a new project. So it's a time to sort of look around to see in what way can you increase the cash flow into your life. And secondly, it might be that the fact that you've been working on a project for a very, very long time, and you're now finding that your divine wish, something that you really hold dear to your heart, is going to be granted because you've done the right thing. Now, a lot of people sort of say to me, oh, I wish I had this and I wish I had that. And I think to myself, well, yes, okay, what have you done to deserve this? What have you done to work towards it? Not just I want, I want, I want. So when you see this card coming out in a reading, yes, it can be money coming in, but if it's relating to other issues surrounding the cards, it's more likely to be the project that you've been working on. This is almost like a heaven-sent situation. It is coming from the divine. It's something that you're being rewarded for all your hard effort, or being such a nice person, or, that you've never really consciously tried to do harm to anybody. And this is like your reward coming to you, sort of saying, well, this is for you being such a nice person. Here, we're giving you this, or we're helping you achieve this dream because you are truly worth it. And it is the divine that is making this decision. It's not us. It's not us mere mortals that can turn around and say, oh, I'd like this and I'd like that, and I really do deserve to win that award or that accolade because I've worked hard for it. This is the divine's call. So when you see this card come out, think of that, if there's not money coming, is there something that you divinely wished for that your wish is going to be granted because you're a nice person and you've worked hard for it? And it's a really lovely card. Doesn't come out often enough, I believe. So this week we move on to the astrology. Yes, the sun's moved into Leo, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and I'm very excited about that. I always like the Leo time of the year, probably because I am a fire sign and I'm a Sag, but more importantly to me, it spells that winter might be in the rear vision mirror very soon and we can get back to summer, which I really adore. I like the warmth and like to go to the beach and sort of get outside when it's winter and cold. And mind you, I shouldn't complain too much. I live in a beautiful part of the world where winters here are fairly mild and, we have a really couple of really freezing cold days and I really complain. But I just don't like the temperature when it drops past where I've got to look for a jumper or a cardigan or a sweater. I'm a summer person. I like to sort of have, minimal amount of clothes on and enjoy the warmth. And I think everybody has a favourite season of the year and that happens to be mine. So anyway, the sun's in Leo. So happy birthday to all the Leos around the world. And I hope you're sort of looking forward to an absolutely fantastic 12 months ahead. It's your time to shine. It's your time to make, your dreams a reality now. So make sure that you really listen to your heart. And I say that not with tongue in cheek. I say that with all sincerity because Leo actually does rule the heart. So listen to your heart. Whether, it may not feel like sort of your life is going the way that you want it to, but if you listen to your heart and be true to yourself, you can't possibly make a mistake. Sometimes we get led up the garden path or we take a direction that may not quite feel right, but we think, oh, well, that's the best I can do at the moment. But if you really listen to your heart, you won't go wrong. So we also have Mercury, the planet of communication, is conjunct Venus, the planet of love and affection. Now, Mercury is going direct at the moment. Its communication is very, very clear. Now, both of these signs are sitting in Leo. Now, the planet of communication, Mercury conjunct Venus, means this is absolutely one of the best times in the world to have a conversation with loved ones. Now, my only but here is the fact that Venus, the planet of love and affection, which is where we look for love in our lives, and it isn't always a new romantic relationship. It can be the loving energy we share between our family, our children, our partners, the people next door, the people we work with, the people we might see down at the market. It's that loving, positive energy is actually going retrograde or backwards until September. So what this means is that even though it's the perfect time to have some conversations, and particularly some tricky conversations, if need be, with somebody that you're really close to, just be aware that there could be a couple of thorns in this, or maybe one of you or both of you are not viewing the situation correctly or as it should be. Now, quite often I find when an energy is in Leo like this, and particularly if you're a Leo and you're dealing with this, it's saying to you, you've got to take the blindfold off, really look at the whole situation. Don't just get on your high horse and say, well, that's not the way it is because I said so. You've got to listen to what the other person is sort of saying. And this can sometimes be very tricky especially when it involves matters of the heart. Now, it's not always, as I said, love. It can be the energy or the loving connection between a brother and a sister, or a sister and a sister, or two brothers, or any family sort of member. There could be a slight bit of conflict here that needs to be resolved. Maybe not everybody's on the same page. And it's really interesting that you've got to look at this for the whole facts, not just as you were led to believe or perceived. Did you not read the information correctly if it was connected to a contract or the signing of an agreement? Did you not read it carefully? Did you not fully understand it? Did you not absorb it? So now is the time where this is all going to come to the surface, and you need to reevaluate this and look at this. And sometimes that's not pleasant. And for Leos, it's usually, go in like the raging lion, bull in the china shop almost, rah, 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 go in and stampede your way through and sort of, thrust your dominance on everyone. And then when you realise that you're not maybe the person in the driver's seat that's right, you then become the meek and mild little kitten and say, well, hang on a minute, how can I win your affection and your attention back? How can we make this right? So just be aware of that, particularly if you are a Leo. There may be a situation that's coming up or around you at the moment that needs some extra special care. Interestingly enough, I want to go on to another part of astrology which is known as the North Node and the South Node, which is connected to the moons. Now, the North Node shows us the way forward, but today we're going to be working with the South Node. So the South Node is it's like showing us where we need to be coming from. And it's sometimes it's like it can drag itself on the bottom of the barrel and sort of say, dredge up all the mud and the dirt and the things that we thought we had hidden, or the things that we don't like about ourselves, and the things that we need to deal with. Now, it's interesting because the North Node is showing, the South Node, I beg your pardon, is showing us where we're coming from. And sometimes we're not necessarily coming from a place of positivity or good or whatever. Sometimes we're coming from a place of, well, I don't want to do that, or you don't know, that's none of your business because I said so. Sometimes we conjure up some sort of negative sort of connotations here, or some things that we don't look at. And sometimes we're the worst ones at deceiving ourselves, let alone other people, because it's too difficult. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to deal with it. Now, the South Node is actually conjunct the moon. The moon only sits in a sign for approximately 2.5 days. So it's right smack bang in the middle of this. It's we're right in the thrust of this at the moment. Now, the moon is also conjunct what's known as an Arabian part, known as the part of fortune. Now, this is not where we're going to go to the rainbow and find the pot of gold with the leprechaun. This is just showing us that if we want to sort of feel fortunate in our lives, if we want to feel as if people are listening to us and we're gaining what we should or what we shouldn't have out of life, we've really got to look at this very carefully. Now, this is sitting in Scorpio. Now, I want to be very clear. This is really directed at Scorpios, Cancer, and Pisces. But Scorpio being the predominant one where this is going to affect. Now, if a Scorpio is not looking at things squarely and not dealing with things in the way that they should, and this will also flow onto a Pisces and a Cancer, but predominantly Scorpio, and then the opposite sign of Taurus as well. If you're not looking at things squarely and you're trying to deceive somebody or yourself, or sort of saying, no, that's mine, you can't have it, I'm wanting to be selfish or destructive in any way, The emotions are going to bubble to the surface. You're not necessarily going to think or look at things very clearly, particularly when it's connected to emotional situations. And you're going to turn around and say, but this is my part of fortune. This is what should be mine. And it comes into that sort of very selfish, self-centered sort of this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. But the thing is, it's not necessarily as one person right or wrong. It's about looking at the whole situation. And Scorpios find it very difficult, more so than the other two water signs, to look at something objectively because they are a fixed, rigid sign. And you've got to remember that the Scorpio water sign is like a block of ice. It freezes, it thaws a little bit, and it refreezes. And each time it refreezes, it becomes colder, it becomes more solid, it becomes more rigid. It's less flexibility, less pliability there. And what they're being asked to do here is don't take the easy way out. Don't do what you've always done all your life or every other past lifetime. This is why you're in such an emotional turmoil and things are sort of so very raw and vivid at the moment, that you can have your part of fortune, but it doesn't mean that your part of fortune is yours or for you. It may be something that you've got to look at it, sharing or sort of dealing with it in a different way, or releasing some of those funds or opportunities or whatever it is, that it's a time to learn to share. And that's going to be pretty difficult for a Scorpio because they do vibrate off that opposite energy of Taurus, where what's mine's mine and what's yours is mine and I'm not sharing. So if you are a Scorpio, be very aware of that. If you're dealing with anything at the moment, make sure that you're looking at it. Am I handling this in a slightly different way? Am I being broad-minded? Am I looking at the bigger picture? Or am I being selfish and stubborn and saying, I'm not going to do that, I'm not listening, my listening ears are broken, and I'm not going to talk to you. We'll deal with this at another time. And make sure that you're not deceiving yourself and others by this, because if you are, you're going to make the situation 1,000 times worse than it needs to be. It's the time to be open and be more flexible and try and keep your emotions in check. We also have Neptune sitting in Pisces. It'll be there till towards the end of the year. Neptune is also going retrograde. With Neptune going retrograde, Neptune is known as the planet of the illusion or delusion and also creativity. Now, this will be affecting Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpios, and also the opposite sign of Virgo. But I feel that Neptune here is washing over all the 12 signs. And it's sort of, I don't want to look at it as a deceptive thing, because I feel at the moment Neptune's really working in a very creative sort of way and showing us of anything that might have been deceiving us, whether it be on the global stage, whether it's on a governmental stage. I know that around the world, lots of things are coming out into the open, things that people sort of thought were hidden or they'd got away with, or all of a sudden we're starting to view some very major political things in a different lens, and rightly so. It's sort of being brought out of the darkness into the light. It's like the tunnel's now opening up and we can see the light. And I think Neptune is really responsible for this, and also partly Pluto, that we'll talk about in a minute. But Neptune's role here is to bring things like that out into the light, so that we can see them, we can reassess them, we can look at them, and we can sort of say, well, hang on a minute, we've been walking around in a bit of a fog or a bit of darkness here for some time. Now we're shining light on it. We can see clearly what we need to do, how we need to approach this, and how we need to address the situations that are going on in our lives. So be aware of that. That takes us through to about end of October, early November with Neptune. Then we have Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure, and trying to sort of bring some new rules into our lives, is also sitting in Pisces. So again, it's sort of, a lot of astrologers look at Pisces energy and say, oh, it's the dustbin cycle of the zodiac, pretty wishy-washy. No, I don't believe that at all. I look at Pisces as having the ability to bring in the good, bad, and the indifferent from the previous 11 signs and amalgamate them into a very fluid sort of situation, that they can be flexible enough to change and move and grow with the times, but also have the wisdom as well as the flaws of the other 11 signs, and sort of bring them to light and sort of say, well, okay, this is the new structure. This is going to be the way that we're going to structure things for the future. You know, we might find new rules and regulations, or government bringing in new restrictions or new rules, or opening things up, or becoming more transparent, and sort of saying, well, you know, we might have done it this way for hundreds of years. Now we're going to change because of this reason or these reasons, because it's going to improve our planet. It's going to improve our lifestyle, improve our working conditions, where, you know, we're going to honour people like the minority sectors in our society and bring them up, that everybody's equal. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing if we suddenly decided that all men were equal on Earth? I know there's been many songs written about that. So we are in a really transforming time of change, and it doesn't matter what your star sign is. Each and every one of us is being affected by some of these stronger, slower moving planets that are sitting retrograde at the moment are really sort of bringing things to the forefront. Then we wrap up the astrology with, I've been talking about Pluto for as long as I've been on the show, which is a long time now, but Pluto is in the last degree of being in Capricorn. He will only be there till the early part of 2024. Will be retrograde until that time. And it's interesting because Pluto is coming in with like the big baseball bat and saying, right, we've got a short period of time. We are going to get this right. He's working very strongly with Saturn and Neptune and all the other parts of astrology and saying we've got to bring so many things out into the open. People have got to stop ignoring global warming. People have got to stop looking at things and saying, oh, well, that's not my problem. We are all one. If that's the one thing we should have all learned out of the pandemic, that is we've got to take care of each other, that, you know, we never know what's around the corner. You know, people are still talking about, you know, we could have another pandemic different to COVID, but another one only just around the corner. I hope they're wrong. But you see what I mean? We've still got lessons we're learning from that, and we all need to learn to stick together and to look after our fellow man and look after the planet at the same time. So lots of changes, lots of things happening. Don't get stressed out by it. You know, work with the energy. If you're feeling uncomfortable, examine why you're feeling uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what your star sign is. If you're having a bad day, we all have them from time to time. But it's if it starts to sort of really affect you, then you've got to start to ask some questions at what maybe I need to change in my life to change my own energy so that I can start to feel more in control. We're going to talk with Audrey in Santa Monica now in California. Are you there, Audrey?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
What kind of readings are you doing?
Do what, sweetie?
I was asking you what kind of readings are you doing? Are you doing like tarot readings or?
I just answer direct questions, Audrey. That's because we have such a limited time. Rather than me doing tarot and throwing cards out on the table and things like that, I can work with your energy and I can answer something for you without needing a tool.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I just wanted to see if, you know, what was in store for me in the next, you know, few months of my life.
Okay.
I've
Right.
been in a lot of turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, Audrey, because even though that you've been going through turmoil, and I think there's been times there where you've wondered whether or not even your thinking is clearly as clearly as what you think you should be, you've actually been really laser focused, and that's good, even though you may not have felt that, but your thinking has been very laser focused and you've been working through the issues and situations and changes as they've been coming into your life, particularly over these last 12 months. And it's like what they're showing me on a spirit level, on a soul level, that you're moving through lessons and changes so quickly that you almost haven't even got time to stop and analyse and see whether or not you actually went the right way. You just did it automatically and, oh, well, that's gone. We've got to move on to the next thing. I haven't got time to go back and look at that. Don't be alarmed by that. There's times in our lives where things move very quickly and then there's other times where it moves slower than a snail. You're in one of those, you know, full steam ahead speed modes at the moment. Have you just moved house? Have you just moved residence?
No, I've been at the same place for a few years now, but I've been thinking of a move. Yes.
Right. Is that what it is? Okay. Because Spirit asked me the question, or your soul asked me the question, Spirit, have you moved? So if you're planning on moving or been thinking about moving, that's not a bad thing. That just shows me that you're in tune with where you're meant to be progressing or what you're meant to be sort of looking at. You know, whether you move tomorrow or at the end of the year or March next year, it's not really the issue on the timing. It's just the fact that you're tuning in or listening to your inner voice about what is coming up. Also, they're showing me, has there been not so much a loss of friendships, but have you sort of looked at your friendships and family people around you through a different set of eyes, like really examining whether friendships are worth pursuing, you know, like realising that sometimes we've got certain friends that all they do is take, and you seem to be give, where you're pulling back a little bit from that?
Yes, that has to do with family that I have been pulling back from because it's not beneficial to me. They do take a lot and they never give back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that was another thing that they were showing me, that you were just, in a sense, on like automatic George, automatic pilot, you were working through this, even though you were aware of it. It wasn't consciously you got out of bed and decided to have to work on that today. You're just gravitating towards that naturally. And that's a good thing too, because the reasons why this is happening, Audrey, is the universe or spirit guides, whatever you believe, is gearing you and getting you ready for some major changes that are going to come. And to be able to do that and to do it successfully, there needs to be a focus on you. And it's like we need to streamline your life. You're getting ready for, that you're probably going to need to move somewhere in the next 12 months. You're feeling the winds of change. You're automatically looking at the family and sort of saying, well, look, I love you dearly, but you can't keep taking and I can't keep giving. There's got to be a cutoff point here. There's got to be some boundaries. And you're doing that and you're working consciously towards that. There's times there that I think you're a little bit too tough on yourself. I want to sort of say, I want you to be a bit kinder to yourself. You are a really lovely person. And just because you may not have the same sort of life as everybody else, there's nothing wrong with that. You're on the path that you need to be on. There seems to be more money that's going to flow towards you in the next 12 months, but I'm also feeling as if there's a major sort of life shift coming. So are you in a relationship at the moment, or is that something that you would like to draw towards you?
My partner actually died in January, so I haven't really been
so sorry.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. Well, that's still very raw. Look, I can appreciate the changes that are going through your life. When you lose somebody like that, darling, there is no bus timetable that says on this day you're going to be fine. Can I suggest to you one thing? I was widowed many, many years ago. Allow yourself 12 months to say, I don't know, if you don't know the answer.
Okay.
Then after that, you will find that things will get marginally easier. It's sort of like you'll never go back to being what you were before, but you will have a new normal that will become you. So no wonder they're showing me all these things that are sort of happening around you. I'm not necessarily saying it's not the time to make a decision. If you get up tomorrow and decide you want to move and it's really strong, then that's the thing to do. But it's, you're going into a much better situation. There will be new love, but it won't be until late towards next year. Anyway, Audrey, unfortunately, I'm running out of time, but that's where I have to leave it. I wish you every success in your future, sweetie, and I'll keep you in my prayers. We're going to talk with Lydia in Wilder in Idaho in the US. Are you there, Lydia?
Good. How are you?
Good, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
No, I was just maybe a general whatever comes up.
All right. The first thing I'm picking up around you, Lydia, is I want to throw my hands in the air and say I'm open to anything that the universe wants to bring. So are you really feeling ready to sort of take on a new project or something new, are you, in your life?
Yes.
Good, because they're showing to me, it's time to sort of open ourselves up. You might not literally want to throw your hands in the air, but they're sort of saying open yourself up to be ready to receive the guidance of what the next step is. They're showing me things are going to really start to ramp up in September. It's like they're showing me so many things that are so fast that I can't pull it up to look at it and say it's one particular thing. So I'm going to suggest to you that maybe you don't necessarily try and hang on to every thought or everything that comes into your mind. If something pulls up long enough that you can stop and you can give it a few minutes, airtime and look at it, that might be the thing to focus on. I think you're going to have lots of things that are going to come towards you, and it's a little bit like a slideshow. Somebody flicking it from one side to the other, putting the next slide in. You don't need to retain or look at everything. It's when it pulls up and you have a good look at it, that's what you need to focus on. I did feel, though, that there was either change of job coming up or a new position within the job that you're doing. Are you looking for a new job?
No, I actually don't work right now. I'm disabled.
But I appreciate that. But is there something that you're doing that is going to be like a job to you, something that gives you a purpose, that might give you a little bit of extra income? It's not something that you enjoy doing?
Yes, watching my grandkids. I babysit.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a job in itself, a major job, a very big job. And a very special one. Well, you must be getting a lot of joy from that. That's good.
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, look, I can appreciate that. Children have their own little personalities, don't they? But, they're fun to watch them grow and develop. But
Yeah.
are you making changes to where you're living? Because I keep seeing question marks around where you're living.
Not really. We're trying to not remodel, but redo the house, clean up around and stuff.
Yeah, well,
We're
that's what I
gonna
mean,
start
changes around the house. Yeah,
Yeah.
Paint a wall, do something, things like that. To me, it's a very slow, ongoing process. It wasn't something that was going to be all done by Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. I have
Also, too,
I have a son that's in jail right now. I was wondering, do you know when he might be getting out or what's going on with him?
I actually think it's going to be sooner than what everybody's expecting. I keep seeing a change with that situation in October. I don't know whether that means when they're going to be released in October or whether their name's going to be put forward for early release or parole or something like that. But October seems to be the pivot point there, the turning point for that. And look, I know everybody sort of says that gets put in jail, I didn't do anything wrong or I didn't deserve this or whatever, but I truly believe in this instance there was miscarriage of justice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Something's
they're
not
really
right
getting
there. Yeah, there's
they're
something
trying
not
to
right.
get him for a lot of
Yeah.
time. So
Okay, sweetie. Look, that's where I've got to leave it. We've come to the end of the show. So this week I want to leave you with a song that's a really beautiful golden oldie song, and I think it's very appropriate for each and every one of us, and it's What the World Needs Now by Dionne Warwick. It's a beautiful song about we could all do with a little bit more love and light in our lives and keeping everything positive and happy, joy. I think there's just too much sadness in the world at the moment, too many people going through things that we need to all lighten up a bit. So that's my song for the week this week. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. So until next week, bye for now.